I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Timbuk2 Robin Commuter Backpack, which I've been testing for 3 weeks. Let's dive in. When they call this thing a commuter backpack, they really mean a commuter backpack. So there are a couple of really key features on this thing that make it great for daily use, especially if you're going to be outside in the elements a lot. The first of which is this panel down at the bottom, which is reflective. You can kind of see that it's reflecting because of the lights that we have here, but in person without direct light on it, it's just kind of like a really dark gray, almost a black sort of like grid pattern. Actually, if I bring it up a little closer, you can probably, that still looks pretty reflective, but it's really subtle in person, which I like. And usually bags will have like really large reflective panels or something like that that are really obvious, but I like that this is more subtle. And then underneath here, there's actually, excuse me, a hidden loop for a bike light. So if you don't need it, it doesn't impact the aesthetic of this kind of like bottom half of the bag, but it's nice and thick if you do need it. So that's pretty cool. It's another feature that's great for commuting and things like that. And then we also have this hidden pocket down at the bottom with a little rainfly folded up in here. And so you can like detach this if you really want to, but I just kind of left it on. And what I ended up doing is you just pull it over the top and then down at the bottom, you can see that it fits nice and snug. So right now I have this covering my water bottle as well, but if you don't have a water bottle, it's like a little bit more of a sleek look. But I like as well that with this rainfly, there are 3 loops on the front, so you can also hang a bike light or any other gear from here. So we have reflection, a little bit of reflection on the side of it as well, and it covers the bag pretty well. It goes a little bit onto the back with the harness system. It goes and covers the straps a little bit, but not enough that it like pops up or anything like that. So it's a pretty secure thing. And then if you don't need it anymore, you just take it off and then you fold it up and you shove it back into this pocket here. I'm going to leave it out for the sake of time, but the outside of this thing is pretty sleek. This is like kind of a slick, like a TPU feeling material. And so it's designed so that rain really slicks right off of this bag. And then there are a couple of attachment loops along the edges here as well, if you wanted to attach any additional gear. Next is the harness system. So you can see at the top here, we have a nice big loop carry handle. This was great for just quick grabs with the bag. It is pretty tall. You can see that from the front, it goes a little bit higher than the bag itself, but it never really got in my way. I didn't really feel it like touching the back of my neck or anything like that either, so I didn't have any huge issues with that. It was a little bit thick. Sometimes it wouldn't hang on a hook super well, but it was great for quick grabs. We also have these just kind of regular backpack straps. There's not really anything particularly exciting about them. They are comfortable enough. I didn't really personally have any issues. Everybody on the team kind of felt that they were just sort of neutral. We also have sternum strap here with a fidlock buckle. This kept reattaching when I wasn't wearing the bag, and then I'd go to put it on and I'd have to like detach the fidlock buckle like almost every single time. So that was a little bit of a nuisance, but just sort of the thing that comes with fidlock. We also have attachment points to go and like put the sternum strap elsewhere on the straps here. I don't really love the look of this. I think it's just a little bit, it's almost like gaudy. It just kind of comes out a little bit too much. It ruins like that sleek look, I think, that this bag has naturally. And there are some reflective panels here as well for visibility. And then we also have a removable sternum or hip belt that I didn't use a ton, but I just kind of like left it on this way. And then 2 large pieces of back panel that are fairly comfortable. Like I mentioned, this is a pretty basic fit. It fits pretty much like any backpack you would expect. With this hip belt, it's more of like a stability thing than anything else. It's not gonna like lift a ton of weight off of your shoulders or anything like that. The sternum strap does a pretty decent job at that though. But again, these come off with Velcro really easily if you don't end up wanting them. I just tightened it at the very back of the back panel like you saw earlier, but like I didn't really feel it in my lower back, but if it bugs you, just take it off kind of thing. With those 2 back panels, you can see that this fits pretty nice on my back. back here. Some of the team members thought that it wasn't super comfortable and they could really feel that back panel or those like mesh channels. I can feel it, but it doesn't really bother me, so I think it's more of a preference thing. But in terms of fit, this is just kind of like a basic backpack. There's nothing really crazy to write home about in terms of comfort, so it's really just more of the style if it's for you. There are a couple of different places to store gear on the outside of this pack, but we're going to start with the water bottle pockets. So there are 2 on each side. Here's the empty one. You can see there's a little bit of elastic at the back here and a small gusset. So you can expand it a little bit to fit a larger water bottle in here. But with me, I have my Awala on the side here. I have to double check the capacity of this one here, but it fits pretty snug in there. I don't feel like it's going to fall out, but you can see it is cutting into that main compartment. So I noticed that with this, I really needed to load the water bottle first and then put everything into my bag, because if I got everything into the bag, and I'll show you how that's configured in a little bit, it was hard for me to actually get this water bottle in here. Once it's in here, it's pretty snug though, like I mentioned, and then there are some drainage pockets on here and here. So this is great. Again, it kind of points to that like water feature, I guess, with this backpack, where it does a pretty good job if you get caught in the rain or something like that. This is 24 ounces. So, you know, kind of your mileage is going to vary depending on what bottle size you have. But in terms of additional storage here, we have this bottom pocket with a little zipper pull. It's got like a nice little grab at the end of here. Other than that, it's just like a paracord. This is like a, I don't know, it's kind of like a plasticky, but it's got some like Timbuk2 logo on it. And branding on this is pretty subtle as well. But on the inside here, I just kind of use these. You can attach gear to this, but I also use it to help me zip and unzip. This pocket I use the least out of all the pockets in this bag, simply because of the way that the zipper is hidden. It's nice because it adds extra water protection, or protection from water, but it was almost like difficult to get my fingers in there, and it was just difficult enough that it annoyed me enough that I didn't want to use the pocket. But in general, if you wanted to use this, like I've got a little granola bar in here, and then I've also got my headphones. So these are 2 things that I primarily just like loaded up in this pocket, but you could put them in this lower pocket. There's a little bit of padding in here as well, so if that's something that interests you, if you have any like sensitive gear or something like that, that could be a good spot for that. But easy to open and shut in the scheme of things. Next up top, this is my favorite pocket. It's super easy to access, and I really like that. It has 2 magnets on either side, and it just flips open and close. It's kind of fun to fiddle with, but on the inside, it's decently roomy. So I have a travel wallet in here, and then it has a key leash with a little clip, so that's nice and easy. It hangs down pretty low, so you can like unlock your door. It's not like super difficult, but it's not the easiest in the world either. But it is just nice to have that amount of space. And this one doesn't have that same type of padding that this bottom pocket does, but I didn't really miss it. There's also some elastic here to help you really like pull that pocket out if you need to see what's inside, and then it just flips shut nice and easy. So what I liked about this is like, this is where I put, my wallet was in here most of the time, pretty much, this travel wallet. So I just like had that in there, and then I had these over here. And then because it's winter, my keys are a lot of the times just in my pocket, and then that flips closed. You know, I want to get to my headphones, they're right there. So pretty easy access, like I mentioned, for this pocket here. So this kind of turned into primarily where I stored all of my gear on the outside of the bag compared to this little pocket down here. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. This bag is a little on the taller side. It didn't really bug me. It didn't like hit me in the back of the head or anything like that. But I did look at Delta's personal item restrictions, and this is technically like an inch too tall. A lot of the times they're not checking that sort of thing, but it is something to keep in mind if you do plan on using this as like a travel bag as well. But with this main compartment, super easy to open. It's got magnetic buckles, kind of keeping on that magnet theme here. And these are pretty easy to use. We've had issues in the past with these types of buckles, jostling open or something like that. I haven't had any issues with this, and this bag is not quite as full on the top as I could potentially get it, and it still closes perfectly fine. So takes a little bit of practice to get it aligned perfectly, but it works pretty easy. So this flips open, and then you've got this whole main compartment here. So one of the things that I noticed mostly with this was that this top panel would like fall down pretty often when I was loading it out. But when I loaded this bag, I mostly loaded it while it was flat, just because putting it up like this because of how tall it is and how skinny it is, it was kind of hard to get to everything down at the bottom. So I would just, I would have this flat, kind of fish around in here with just my hands and pull out what I need. So I've got a tech pouch in here. It's fairly empty right now, but I did have this pretty full. And so that fit in there nice and easy. And then I have an extra layer for myself. And then I have an apple down here as well. So that is a nice place to put like extra layers or things like that. Right now it's winter in Michigan, so it's pretty cold. So this is where I would stuff like a hat and gloves and things like that. What's nice about this bag being a commuter pack is that because of the amount of space that's in here, oh, there's a little clip down there too. Because of the amount of space that's in here, it's pretty minimal and it's pretty slim and sleek. And so all of this stuff that's in here, you just kind of layer it how you need to, and you can get to it pretty easily. And it's not going to be like oversized on your back with like a ton of space you don't actually need to utilize for everyday use. I'm gonna pull that clip out before I forget about it. Another thing in here is the laptop compartment. So you can see that once you open this, there is a little flap right here, and that is a Velcro flap where you can slide up to a 13-inch laptop. So I've got a MacBook Pro in there, and you can see that it's got just like a nice, there's like a decent amount of padding here. It feels pretty secure, and it does have a little bit of a false bottom as well. At first I thought this was a little too tedious trying to get in here every single time, and like I need to like open this flap and then open that flap and then get to my laptop. But theoretically speaking, you're only getting to your laptop a couple times during the day. So once you get used to that process, it's not that big of a deal. And it does add extra weather protection, because if you close this bag, you can theoretically get some water in on the sides here because it doesn't zip shut or anything like that. I personally am not super worried about it because of how locked down this thing is. But theoretically speaking, if water got into your bag, you have a little bit of extra protection with that. One last thing to note here is at the very, very bottom of this bag, you can kind of see it's like, it looks a little lumpy down there. And that's because at the very, very end is where we get to that rainfly. So like I mentioned, the rainfly is removable. So if you don't ever really need to use it, you could just leave it at home. But when I was loading gear in here, you lose, I would say the rainfly butts into like about here, in terms of like it kind of bulking out down there. So in the scheme of things, not that big of a deal, but it does impact, things laying flat down at the bottom. Another thing that I noticed with this was that if I had like a larger Tupperware container or something like that, if I was bringing my lunch to the office, then it had a problem sitting flat down at the bottom there as well. And because of how slim this is, it wasn't gonna lay like completely flat down there if it wasn't perfectly sized. So a few little it seems like nuanced things about this bag more than anything. But overall, in terms of like a day-to-day commuter with that weather protection, if you're outside a ton, this is going to be a really great fit for that. So there you have it, the Timbuk2 Robin Commuter Backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.